I'm continuing my series of MASH retro reviews with Season 1, Episode 23, Ceasefire. So we're almost near the end of Season 1, but first we gotta talk about a ceasefire. So the episode is basically General Clayton calls Colonel Blake. Henry tells him that there's a rumor that there's gonna be a ceasefire. Well, more than an official rumor, so basically, we're playing a ceasefire kind of deal. And then, though it's not official, so he tells Henry not to share it. Well, Hawkeye, Chopper, and Radar are in the room. And actually, Hawkeye and Chopper do promise Henry not to tell it. Too bad Radar obviously told everyone else, and now there's no point in keeping that. So the entire camp knows. And so there's a bunch of just scenes, Klinger's thinking that the war's over, he's gonna get sent home, start selling off his dresses. Basically, Frank and Margaret drink and actually get drunk, but Margaret's like, this really shows how her character in this season was just, and early on, is just really attached to Frank in an unhealthy way. Basically lamenting that they won't be able to be together after the war is over because, Frank has his, family back home. So I have a feeling he probably could maintain a illicit relationship. I'm just saying. He doesn't seem that faithful to his wife anyhow. But anyhow. And then, of course, Radar's having everyone sign his scrapbook. Hawkeye has to basically break up with all the nurses he's been seeing, and so he invents that he has a wife back home. He doesn't, but he invents that. And yeah, so those nurses he probably won't be dating in season 2 for sure. Unless he tells the truth and says that he's afraid of commitment, which is probably the actual thing. Based off of probably some other stuff that we see later on, because you notice how he never commits to a nurse. Just something to say. But during all this, Trapper is convinced that the ceasefire won't actually happen, that the generals and leaders will change their mind and the war will be back on. Well, guess what happens? General Clayton arrives, and they're having a party and all that, and then word comes that the ceasefire has been cancelled, it won't be going on. Chopper is right, and Hawkeye has to pay him $50 because of the bet they made about whether or not the ceasefire was actually going to happen. Not to mention, during all this, the camp is starting to get disassembled. Hawkeye kind of starts it by telling, I think it was Hojan, even though supposedly he's been sent to the States for education, but they never stuck with that, obviously. But anyhow, the locals just start taking stuff. And the ending scene is basically Hawkeye and Chopper sitting in the swamp. Hawkeye has a crate, while Chopper still has all his items, and the still. So that's essentially what happens and how the episode ends. But honestly, the big point of this episode, I think, one, they knew this was going to be near the end of the season, and two, not knowing how the show was going to end, if it was going to get another season, all that stuff, they probably chose to put an episode near the end to show the audience what it would be like to the characters experiences the news as the war was ending. But they still hoping to continue, obviously, make sure not to actually have the war end. But it's interesting how this contrasts with the actual final episode, with the final movie, I should say, Goodbye, Farrell, Amen, where the war actually does end. And yes, there's party and celebration, but the one match became more dramatic by then, so it took on some more serious tones. Like, you have characters who, talk about who they're going to miss, about their plans. Like, by the end, it feels like a much more realistic conversation. This episode, they're just partying and all that, and then depressed when they learn that the war wasn't ending and there's more wounded coming. Goodbye for All Men, from the more dramatic era match, took a very different approach, but it also took a very different approach because they were actually ending the war then. Here, it was just a setup for the humor that they wanted to tell in this episode. But that covers most of the stuff I wanted to talk about this episode. You can let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching my video. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to give this video a like and share. Also, consider subscribing to my channel to stay up to date on all my latest content. You can also stay up to date on my content by following me on social media. I have a link tree down in the description which has all my social media links on it. Additionally, if you would like to support the channel, you can become a channel member and get early access to all my videos. In the meantime, thank you for watching, and as always, have a good day, a good night, wherever you are. May the force be with you always.